Hello everyone, back at it again with another ice fishing video. I'm headed out onto what looks like the frozen tundra, but it's not really tundra. This is a small pond, and we've got pretty good ice. We lost a little bit of the slush ice that was on top during the last warm-up, but then it got cold again. We had a few snow squalls coming through. Actually, it was out here the day before during the snow squalls, and the fishing was really good. I mean, the fish were going crazy, and I got a few oddball things too, like a bullhead catfish through the ice, a giant wild shiner. Maybe I'll stick some pictures of those two in here. Alright, this was the bullhead catfish. I've caught a few of these jigging, but not too many. They're mostly nocturnal. And this was the wild shiner. They have small mouths, so they're hard to hook. They make great bait, especially for pike, but no pike in here, so I let them go. This is somebody's old hole I went through in one whack. That means they were out here this morning. They were out here early in the morning, and they packed up before lunch, I guess, and went home. And it's kind of windy and chilly out here right now. There's nobody else out here, so I got the whole place to myself. But since I was out here the day before, I kind of dialed in an area I wanted to fish, and so I'm headed right back for that same area. Usually when I'm fishing, I drill my holes pretty far apart because I'm searching for fish, and I don't have forward-facing sonar or live scope or anything like that, so I have to find the fish first. That's usually job number one. Sometimes they can be on a weed line, sometimes they're just roaming around a basin. Especially new spots, I have to drill a lot of holes before I land on some fish, most of the time anyway. But in this case, I'm going right back to where I had the best luck the day before. Yeah, it's too bad I lost the video from when the fish were really going crazy. And on this day, they weren't quite as active. It seems like if you hit them just right during a snowstorm or that kind of like stormy weather, the bite can really be crazy. So today is more of a post-front day. But the good thing about this day is I didn't lose the video. So what I've done here is I've swapped my chisel for the electric drill auger combo. And I'm popping a bunch of holes. And what I'm really trying to do is dial in the edge of a weed line. When I'm in search mode, I can get pretty close to the weed line, but I might end up in deeper water, or I might end up too shallow and right in the middle of a weed patch. And so since I know where I want to fish, I can drill more holes closer together in sort of a loose grid kind of a pattern. And that way, if I'm a little bit off, I can just move 10 yards down the line and get on exactly where I want to fish. It's kind of a fine line here between being too deep and off the weed line and being too shallow and really in the middle of a jungle. Sometimes the weeds come up almost just below the ice, and so you just don't have a lot of room to fish in. So that's what I'm doing here. Is I'm trying to drill more holes closer together and come up with some kind of a grid pattern to really dial in spot on a spot where I want to fish. Alright, I got all my holes drilled. This is the first hole. I put the camera down. There's already a fish down there waiting to be caught. This is a good situation. Usually isn't like this. Usually I have to work a little bit harder, but like I said, this was the day after I already found a good spot, and so I was expecting to run into fish, maybe not this quickly, but it's good to know there's fish down there, and I just need to get a lure down there and start catching them. And they should come in pretty quickly. If you're seeing fish already on camera before there's even a lure down there, that's a pretty good sign. I can still see him, but his friend saw the lure and he came in pretty fast. I'm a little bit shallow here. I got him. I'm a little bit shallow here, but I've got some nice green weeds that I'm fishing over. there just isn't a lot of room between the ice and the weeds. So it's pretty tight right now. There's another bluegill, and there's one down below. He's coming in fast, and he got it. Another thing that I noticed, might have been the first fish, is that when I was releasing him, I noticed the other fish swim away. So what I'm trying to do, since I have a lot of holes close together, is release the fish in the hole next to this one. So you saw it in that last little clip. When I released the fish, the other fish kind of bolted too. The water's too skinny here, and so when I'm dumping the fish back in the ice hole, I'm spooking the other fish that are down there. So what I was trying to do is just set them free in the hole next door, and that seemed to work out pretty well. They seemed like they stayed in place a little bit longer and allowed me to catch more fish. That's a nice sized yellow perch, and there's a bluegill in the corner, and there's another bluegill that came in, and something spooked him. I don't know what that was. The perch didn't move, but he's a pretty good sized perch, or maybe it's a she. There's another perch. He did a drive-by. Oh, that was a nice looking perch. Got another bluegill coming in and looking at it. That is a black ice Swedish pimple, the smallest one they make. It was pretty sunny at this stage, and I wanted something kind of neutral, and that black ice color seems like my go-to now when I'm confronted with that kind of midday sun and sort of not so aggressive fish. There's another bluegill. He came right in and ate it. I ended up catching that one. It's always good when there's multiple fish on camera because they get competitive with each other, and it's more likely that one of them's going to eat it. That one ate it right away, no trouble there. Drop down. Right away there's a fish on it. I'm trying to lift him, trying to get him to come up. I almost had him. He's just kind of chewing on the tail. There, I got him that time. I've got a real piece of worm on the hook to kind of sweeten the deal. Usually they like, especially the bluegill, they like a little piece of bait. I see a lot of people jigging bare jigs, and from what I've seen, that's really tough. You know, sometimes you can catch them on a bare jig or a spoon, but it's usually early in the morning when they're pretty aggressive, and every other time you really need to sweeten the jig with a little piece of bait or spikes or worm or mealworms. Otherwise, they do a lot of staring at the spoon. I did end up catching that one, the second one. All right, back down again. Right away, I got a couple fish, and that's a crappie. There was another crappie kind of on the side. The crappie like to come in a little bit higher than the bluegill, and they tend to be a little bit more aggressive when they want to feed. And they take that spoon right out of the bluegill's, zone before they even get a chance. They come in, when they're hungry, they come in fast and hard, fins up, and then they suck in that spoon with their, by opening up their mouths really wide, and yeah, they're pretty efficient feeders. Now we got a mixed bag here. We got perch, there's two crappie on the screen, there's a bluegill underneath. I'm trying to lift that crappie up. The perch is not really buying it. I did end up catching that crappie though. Always good when there's multiple fish on the screen. There's another crappie, came in fast, but he missed it, or maybe I pulled it away from him. There's another fish off to the side. I think there's two more down below. One might be a bass, but I ended up catching the crappie that was up high. Let's see what we got here. Looks like a bass. It's kind of hard to tell from the top side view. He's thinking about it. Yeah, that's a bass. I didn't end up catching him, but I moved to a hole next door, and yeah, I don't know if that was the same bass or a different one, but he ate it right away. switched to a Z Viber. This is a 1/16 ounce Z Viber. It's got a single tail hook on the back, and I've put a little worm on that too. Geez, these perch were giving me trouble. I did catch a few of them, but yeah, I think I got that one. But they were doing a lot of looking on this day. The day before, they were doing a lot of eating, which is always better than looking. But the bluegill aren't as keen on the Z Viber. It has kind of a baby bluegill profile, and maybe there's something about that they don't like as much. But they do a lot of looking at it, and not so much eating, until something or other comes in that's a little bit bigger. Maybe it's a crappie, maybe it's another bluegill, or maybe they just get tired of it shaking in their face, and eventually they eat it. If you get a big enough bluegill, they'll eat that Z Viber and get that tail hook with the worm. See how they get kind of fired up when they're competitive with each other? I'm waiting until he eats it. I'm kind of watching him on camera, and he doesn't quite have it all the way in his mouth. And look at that. A bass came in from the side. Gone. He doesn't play around like the bluegill do. That's a little better bluegill. If I can get him up and lifted, it's a better chance he's going to eat it just like that. And then up he comes onto the ice. I got another perch. He's looking at it. He's thinking about it. But man, the perch were giving me trouble today. A couple of these perch are really nice perch too. I would have liked to have caught them. But something about it they didn't like today. There's another fish at the bottom of the screen. I think that was a bluegill, just off camera. I got another one sliding out from the top right there. He's giving it a good look from about 16 inches away. Started backpedaling. Yeah, it's not always a guarantee. Oh, that one had it. That's a nice perch. He had it and he spit it out. Maybe if I was a little quicker, I could have got him. But yeah, they were giving me trouble on this day. I don't know exactly why. Crappie were eating well. The bass were eating well. The bluegill were eating pretty well if I fish something a little smaller. I'm trying to go for bigger fish now, kind of with mixed results. But that's the plan, is to show them something a little bigger and try to get some bigger fish. By this point, I've already caught plenty of smaller fish. And eventually I did get that bluegill too. Camera's bouncing around because I pulled the fish up through the hole. Well, what's that? That's another bluegill. He's looking at it. Yep. He ate it. Alright, I was messing around with the Z Viber, but I don't know. A lot of the fish didn't seem too into it, so I went back to, that's a leech flutter spoon. They seem to eat that a little bit better. I tried a 1/8 ounce flutter spoon, which was a little big for them, and then I quickly went back to a 1/16 ounce. So it's a little bit bigger than the Swedish pimple. It's got a little bit more vibration, a little bit more flutter. Hence the name, flutter spoon. It really does swim pretty well on the way down. I also mixed in a chartreuse Swedish pimple. And that seemed to catch him pretty well. So the difference between the black Swedish pimple and the chartreuse, other than the color obviously, is that I use the black one when it's sunny out, high skies, something that I want to match the fish's activity level, which is usually pretty low during those times. But when the clouds come in, I want something bright, like chartreuse, fire tiger, that kind of thing. So we're not getting as much light penetration because of the clouds. I want something bright, something that gets their attention. So I've got, I think that's the Swedish pimple in this case, the chartreuse Swedish pimple. And I've got one down below looking at it and one up above that came in a much more aggressive fish, and I ended up catching him too. It's almost always better if you can get them coming up. Those high ones, or ones that are willing to rise, always seem to be a little bit more aggressive and willing to eat. I almost had that one. When you miss them, a lot of times they do that. They turn tail and swim away. I don't know if this is the same fish coming back or a different one, but his buddy got it first, and up he comes. There's a bluegill down low. Let's see if I can get that one. Come on up, buddy. He's going to eat. He looks like he wants it. Oh, I missed him. Now there's another one down below. They seem to be aware when other fish are in the area. I think they can feel them, feel the vibrations in the water. He's just playing with me now. I should have had him about 4 times now. Oh, I missed him. I missed him in the end. There's 2 bluegill down there. Trying to get him to come up. That one seems like he's more willing to move up than the others, so that's the one I'm going to target. And a bass comes in and takes it away from both of them. They're funny like that, huh? Well, I almost had that one too. Yeah, so if they'll go for the leech flutter spoon, I'll fish that. And if that seems to be too much, I just go right back down to a Swedish pimple or something else small like that. I could easily fish a little tungsten jig too, but I feel like I don't get as many bigger fish when I downsize. So as long as they're somewhat willing to eat spoons and other kinds of jigs like that Z-Viber, that's where I'd rather stay. Almost got him. There. Right away, there's a fish coming in. Yep, got him too. So this is pretty good action, but I got to tell you, you should have seen yesterday. Yesterday's action was even better. Another one. He took a swipe at it. Come on up. Yep, got him too. When there's no fish on screen, I tend to be more aggressive. And then when there's something I can see, I slow down. Try to do more subtle jigging motions, give him a chance to eat it. The camera really helps with all that stuff. That's a crappie swimming around down there. I almost landed on his head. I was kind of lucky at this hole. And he had it. I think I got him. Bounced the camera all around. That's a bluegill swimming by. There's another crappie swimming up high. I missed that last crappie, but I'm going to see if I can get that bluegill. Yep, I got him. I would have liked the crappie a little bit more, though. Got 2 bluegill coming in. The spoon is just off screen, and something happened. Something scared those fish off. I don't know if there was a bass over there or a pickerel. But yeah, if there's a bass or pickerel in the area, they usually turn tail and go the other way. That was a perch. I almost had him. Got a bluegill slowly coming up. I'm back to the Z-Viber. Trying to get a bigger bite. Now I got 3 fish coming in. 4 if you count the perch up the top. There's another fish. And they're all kind of looking at it. 5 fish. One of them's got to eat it, right? They're all just doing a lot of looking. Oh, a little better bluegill. He's thinking about it. Come on now. 5 fish on the screen. I should be able to catch one of them. Tasting it, tasting it. There we go. Finally got one. All right, there's two on the screen. There's a third down low. Nope, there's four down low. And they're doing a lot of looking. There's another fish that's coming in. Yeah, the bluegill don't seem to like the Z-Viber as much, but eventually I usually can get one to eat it. That small Z-Viber seems like it's a little big for him, but if I can coax one enough to take a shot, I can usually get him. There's another bluegill on the Z-Viber. Trying to lift him up. He didn't want to come up, so I'm going back down a little bit more. Trying to match the level he's willing to come up to. He's got it, but not quite. He didn't quite have the hook there. I don't think I actually landed that fish. Swing and a miss. Let's try again. Got another fish coming in. No, I ended up getting that one. The competition thing makes them more aggressive usually. I got fish on the screen, so I've toned down my jigging motions. I'm just kind of wiggling it a little bit. Sometimes I do like a rocking horse type motion. I got a couple fish on the screen, but none of them are really all that engaged at this point. All right, there's another one. He came in fast and hard, and I missed him. Geez, sometimes it happens. That Z-Viber is just a little bit big for these bluegill. A big bluegill will have no problem with that 1/16 ounce Z-Viber, but for these fish, they're kind of average size. It's just a little on the big side for them. I'm really hoping something bigger comes in from the side, like a bass or a crappie or big perch, something like that, and eats it. When they're like this, you know, they're studying it. I don't know what they're looking for, but they're studying it and deciding whether or not to eat it. And then they go back to study mode. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fish on the screen. You'd think I could get one of them to eat it like that one. I eventually did get him to go. All right, put it down, and there's 1, 2 fish on the screen. They're slowly coming in, doing a lot of looking, a lot of studying. There's a third fish. He's coming in a little faster. Maybe I can get him to go. Ooh, I don't know if I got him or not. The camera was doing a lot of shaking, but I think I missed that one. Back down. See if I can get him to come up. Oh, that looked pretty good. I did get him. All right, back down the hole. I got a bluegill looking at it. The camera makes all this a lot easier. But if you didn't have a camera, you can apply a lot of the same lessons from the video to wherever you're fishing. So I'm constantly changing locations, changing spots. I'm changing lures. I'm changing the height of the lures. That's a medium-sized crappie. Almost had that Z-Viber. I'm trying different things, and I'm mixing it up. I'm trying to lift fish. If you are missing a lot of fish, usually that means you need to either change color or downsize. If you're not getting any bites at all, chances are you're not in a good spot and you need to drill another hole and move. Yeah, and if it's bright and sunny midday, I'm usually fishing small with a little tungsten jig or that black ice small Swedish pimple. Towards dusk and early in the morning, I fish bigger, bolder things, more color, more vibration, more sound, bigger spoons, stuff like that. What else? A lot of times I see people not tipping their jigs. I think that's a mistake most times. You gotta put a little bait on there, some kind of bait. Otherwise, they won't even give you the bump, and you won't know the fish are there if you don't have a camera or a fish finder or something. I'm back to the flutter spoon. You can see that spoon fluttering, and I got a crappie here I'm working. Oh, I think I missed him twice already. I don't know how many more chances he's going to give me. 3 strikes and you're out, it might be. Yep. 3 strikes and you're out. Try again another day. Oh. Sometimes that's the way it goes. Got another one coming up. What's that? Those look like bass. There's 2 bass there. I ended up catching that little bass instead of the crappie. Got 2 fish coming in. There's a 3rd one down below. Hopefully I can get one of these to go. Oh, I don't think I got that one. He pulled on the worm, but I don't think I got the hook in him. How about that one? That one I did get. So yeah, you can learn a lot from watching fish on video. I mean, just in this video, I learned I probably shouldn't drop the fish too hard down the hole because it spooks the other fish if I'm fishing over shallow weeds like stuff like this. If I'm going to release them into the same hole, I try to do it more gently now, or try to put them in a different hole. That leech flutter spoon really does flutter on its way down. I think it calls fish in. That fish, I think he came up out of the weeds. Some of the fish were actually buried in the weeds, like kind of an aquatic jungle. Other fish were roaming around on top of the weeds. On really tough days, sometimes they'll just be in the weeds, and you can see them on video, and they will not budge. You have to go down to them with like a tiny tungsten. That one I did get eventually. And his friend is kind of in that little pocket in the weeds down below. There's another one. As soon as I put my jig down there, a little bit more interested, a little bit more aggressive. Try to get him. Oh, he had it. There's 3 now on camera. Should be able to get one of them. There he is. Alright, I'm going to show you this last clip here, and then I'm going to wrap it up. This is a bluegill swimming by. I don't even have a lure down. And then a crappie swims by above him. That's usually how it goes. The perch will be down low, bluegill a little bit higher, and crappie up top. Alright, thank you all for watching. I'll list everything in the video description, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!